The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by the UMass 5 College Credit Union, dedicated to creating access to financial well-being for local people, businesses, and communities. Insured by NCUA, umass5.coop.
Welcome to the Fabulous 413. I'm Khalees Smith.
And I'm Monty Belmonte. Later in the show, lifting up the well-being of your littles and maybe not so littles anymore with folks from this weekend's R.I.S.E festival.
First, we turn our attentions to Capitol Hill in the District of Columbia, a buzzing hornet's nest of activity and legislation,
where the representative for the 2nd Congressional District of Massachusetts has a mass of bills and more to navigate through.
How you doing?
Good, and you?
Everything's beautiful.
Were you just at that Hakeem Jeffries caucus-wide meeting?
No, I did I had a briefing on food safety. I had to go to this morning.
Oh.
And so I'm just walking back to my office. That's why you hear a truck in the background.
Maybe you can hitchhike.
Yeah.
Time for our weekly conversation with U.S. Congressman from the 2nd Congressional District of Massachusetts, the ranking member of the Rules Committee, Congressman Jim McGovern, in a segment we call McGoverning with McGovern. Well, speaking about food safety, I will want to hear a little bit later about your beef with rotisserie chicken. But
Okay.
We're going to start out with Iran. The Senate yesterday tried for another war powers resolution. It was thwarted by Democrat John Fetterman, and also Rand Paul, the Republican, joined with the Democrats to try to institute this war powers resolution. The aim, I believe, is today for House Democrats once again to force a war powers vote, according to Politico at least. Any further movement on this one, or is it going to meet the same fate it met in the Senate yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, the question is whether or not we have enough Republicans with a backbone who believe in the Constitution and who will do their job. I mean, the problem is that virtually every Republican, except for like maybe a couple, are frightened of the president, don't want to incur his wrath. And so they do whatever he tells them to do. And that's bad for the institution, and it's bad for the country. I mean, this war is costing us billions of dollars, tens of billions of dollars. And they're cutting, food assistance for poor people, and they're cutting back on monies for schools and protecting the environment and, economic development. But we're just spending billions on this war that is reckless, illegal, and again is draining our essential resources. And I just, it's really sad. But we got to keep at it. And at some point, some of these members of Congress will hear from their constituents, and maybe they'll get the backbone to stand up to this president.
Another $1 billion that's been raising the ire of some on both sides of the aisle has to do with the ballroom renovation. That is a $1 billion tab. Meanwhile, President Trump said earlier this week he doesn't think about America's financial situation. When it comes to Iran, he said it's all about keeping them from having a nuclear weapon, and at the same time, the safety and security of the White House and the ballroom. What's your take on both of those things, the $1 billion ballroom and Trump's statements about America's financial situation?
So first of all, he said originally that the ballroom was going to be paid for with private donations. And now Senate Republicans are sneaking in a provision for $1 billion of taxpayer money to pay for this ballroom. I mean, this is crazy. This is crazy. With all the challenges and with all the problems that we're faced with, his priority and the priority of House and Senate Republicans is to divert $1 billion to this vanity project. I mean, it is insane. It makes no sense. So we ought to reject that, and we ought to be investing that $1 billion to help people afford their groceries. I mean, price of everything is going through the roof because of this war, because of his stupid tariffs. And by the way, I don't think he gives it. He said it. He said the quiet part out loud. I mean, the financial situation of the American people is not of his concern. And this is not about preventing Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. But by the way, Iran is nowhere near getting a nuclear weapon. And the president even said so. And when he bombed them a year ago, he said he obliterated their nuclear program. And now he talks like they have missiles aimed at the United States. Part of the problem is he got into this mess and he doesn't know how to get out of it. And so he's just digging deeper. And again, we're paying the price, not just in terms of higher prices, but also we're losing our standing in the world. I mean, and we're becoming isolated.
Well, one of the ways that Donald Trump seems to be trying to get out of Iran is by teaming up with China. Trump, once a staunch critic of China, is now there in a summit with an entourage, including several billionaires. What are you looking for out of this summit with China in Beijing with the president?
Well, first of all, some of us have written to the president. We passed a resolution on the House floor yesterday urging him to raise the issues of involving human rights and trying to get the release of political prisoners that Xi has under arrest. But, it's clear that this is about rewarding his donors. I mean, who's who in, the billionaire class is with him on this trip. So Elon Musk there as well. I mean, they're all looking to make more money. But here's the other thing that we've learned. I mean, President Xi talked about Taiwan. Some of us have been worried that Trump's adventurism into Venezuela and into Iran, his threats to invade Cuba, has given President Xi the green light to go into Taiwan. And I think that would be a tragic outcome if that were to happen. So I hope the president doesn't forget the words human rights in his conversations. He never likes to talk about human rights, but I think people all around the world are counting on the United States to care, and we'll see whether that happens.
Have you heard talk about the fact that the United States has used a lot of its strategic reserves when it comes to weapons in Iran, now leaving the U.S. in a vulnerable position if Xi decided to invade Taiwan? Xi, this morning, as part of the summit, did make a kind of a terse warning to President Trump about their difference of opinion on Taiwan. Is that a real threat, do you think?
I do think it's a real threat. And Xi would tell Trump, why can't we invade Taiwan when, you invaded Venezuela and you're at war with Iran and, you're threatening to invade Cuba? Why can you do it and we can't? And so the actions of the United States, the actions of this administration could have some unfortunate consequences. And I don't believe that Trump would respond militarily if China were to invade Taiwan. I mean, Trump's a big fan of people like Putin and Xi. I mean, Trump even said, Xi rules all these people in China who with an iron fist, and he said so like kind of admiring the fact that Xi runs the country with an iron fist. And I don't think Donald Trump cares about anything other than himself. I really believe that. I think this is all about how he can make money for himself and for his friends, and that is it. He doesn't care what happens to Taiwan. He doesn't care about human rights. He doesn't care about anything but himself, and he doesn't care about our democracy. So, this is what we're stuck with, and we're going to have to deal with it. And hopefully in the elections coming up in November, things will be different. And I'm really deeply concerned by, the Supreme Court's decision to gut the Voting Rights Act, and the fact that, we now see state by state in the South, basically eliminating every congressional district that has a black member of Congress. And I just find that so sad that this is happening in our country. I'm going to go with some of the members of the Congressional Black Caucus to Alabama tomorrow to protest, what's going on. I mean, this is not just about those districts. This is about us as a country. And I just am so devastated that this is happening before our very eyes, and there needs to be more outrage across the country.
Speaking with U.S. Congressman Jim McGovern, McGoverning with McGovern, we did have one of the nation's foremost experts on gerrymandering and the Supreme Court with Haydenville's David Daly on the show on Monday, talking about what went on in Virginia last week and all of this gerrymandering that's been going on. According to Politico, though, the House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries is hosting a meeting with top Democrats to discuss the next step on the party's election strategy. There was a lot of hope, I think, in the Democratic Party that you had won the gerrymandering battle. And has that hope diminished? And what is the strategy to try to regain the House for Democrats in light of what's gone on with the southern states and the Voting Rights Act and the gerrymandering?
Well, first of all, I find it ironic that all the Republican gerrymandered states, the people of those states had no role. They didn't get to vote on it. It was done by state legislators. In Virginia and in California, where the Democrats moved on redistricting, there were referendums. The people of those states voted. And then the Supreme Court in Virginia overturned that. That just seems strange to me. But look, this is the gerrymandering stuff. To me, doesn't mean that I don't believe we can win the midterm elections. I think we will. I think people are so outraged by everything. I think people are going to show up like never before. I think Democrats are going to turn out. I think independents are overwhelmingly leaning to vote for Democratic candidates. And I think there may be, 10 or 20% of Republicans who are just so disgusted by how their party is behaving that they will show up. So I think we will win. I think the problem with, the gerrymandering that's going on and the elimination of seats held by black members of Congress, that's a reflection on us as a country. That's something that hurts us all, and the kind of representation that you will see here on Capitol Hill, missing those voices if, in fact, the Republicans succeeded in eliminating them. I mean, it's incalculable. It will be devastating. And the kinds of policies that you're going to see move forward are going to be policies that I think most of us, and certainly a lot of the people who listen to your show, will, be deeply, deeply disappointed in. I mean, the idea that somehow that racism isn't an issue in the United States, it's ludicrous to even suggest that, and to say that these districts are, somehow are racially based is also kind of insulting. I mean, so you can have a district with, drawn that has 90% white voters, and that's not racially based. But if you have a district that has 45% black voters, that somehow is racially based, and therefore the Supreme Court says that you can redraw the maps. I never thought that this would happen, even under Trump. And every time I think they can't get any worse, they do.
We'll continue our conversation with Congressman Jim McGovern shortly as we get into a whole plethora of listener questions and a criticism concerning food access and rotisserie chicken.
After which, we'll bring in Jarrett J. Krasaska, Greg and Louis Phipps to talk about how art is good for the well-being of everyone, especially young folks, at this Saturday's R.I.S.E. Fest.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Mass Humanities, presenting a second year of Smithsonian Museum on Main Street, including a political trivia night May 21st at Mohawk Trail Regional School. Information at masshumanities.org/events.
Speak with U.S. Congressman Jim McGovern. We talk a lot about food security and SNAP and cuts to SNAP on this show. This is from a New Bedford AM news station. When you're making a base salary of $174,000 annually and vote to deny a SNAP benefit recipient the opportunity to purchase a hot rotisserie chicken from the supermarket, one might suggest that you've lost touch with your constituency, especially when you're an ultra super duper progressive liberal like Massachusetts 2nd District Democrat Representative Jim McGovern of Worcester. Can you tell us what they are criticizing you about at 1420 WBSM and your beef with rotisserie chicken?
Yeah. So clearly they didn't pay attention to the debate, or they have no idea what they're talking about. And it's also clear they don't like me, but that's okay. I have long been a champion for allowing SNAP recipients to buy hot foods, whether they're rotisserie chickens or soup. And we had an amendment that we were trying to bring to the floor that would do that. Republicans blocked it, but only allowed a specific industry-specific amendment on rotisserie chicken to come to the floor and be voted on. Why? Because Tyson and Purdue basically paid for it. They donated generously, and they just wanted a carve-out for them. So with all due respect to that New Bedford station, whoever the hell they are, the bottom line is, my question to them is, why would you deny SNAP recipients the ability to buy soup or other hot foods? Why only chicken? Why was there only a carve-out for chicken? And if they did a little investigating, they would follow the money, and they would get the answer as to why.
So just to be clear, you're not opposed to rotisserie chicken?
No.
Okay.
No.
Because it is delicious.
I'm opposed to an industry carve-out for one sector, and basically they're doing that because the chicken industry, Tyson and others, have been very, very generous to Republicans. And by the way, the average benefit is about $2 per person per meal. So maybe what we should be debating is how we expand the benefit so that people can actually afford a rotisserie chicken, versus just doing industry-specific carve-outs.
You had a local hunger huddle in Washington, D.C. with some folks who are fighting hunger here locally, like the Stone Soup Cafe and the Food Bank. Can you tell us what went on with that?
Yeah, no, I mean, we're down here talking about, how we push back on some of the the terrible cuts that are being made, how we raise awareness, not only locally, but around the country. I think most people, when they are informed about what Congress is doing in terms of gutting nutrition programs, eliminating farm to school programs, for example. So, it's more difficult to have schools buy food for the students from local farms. I mean, I think most people are horrified by that. But we need a strategy to raise awareness and to push back in a more meaningful way. And so I appreciated all the friends who came from Massachusetts to talk about some of these things, and I also appreciate them coming down and telling me and others real life stories about what's happening. We all know the numbers, we all know the figures and the statistics, but sometimes those things don't move people. Stories do, and so I appreciated their coming down here and actually uplifting the stories of people that they deal with on a daily basis.
A couple of listener questions for you, Congressman McGovern. This from Michael Lynch, the president of Strategic Energy and Economic Research, Distinguished Fellow, Energy Policy Research Institute. Very fancy people that listen to public radio, and I'm glad to have them asking questions. Michael says, although lawsuits often fail and are thrown out, the current administration has taken a number of legal actions that have been called frivolous by the courts and that appear to be nothing more than an attempt to please the president by harassing his opponents. Obviously, judging the merits of any given case is hard until it's taken to court, but is there a way to impose sanctions in the most egregious cases and/or recover the money wasted in the process? Obviously, the Department of Justice is not going to do so. What's your take on Michael's question?
No, but I mean, if we had a Congress that was actually able to do anything, in terms of passing legislation or putting in more regulations or restrictions with regard to what he was talking about. There are things we can do to reel them in. I mean, one of the problems about being in the minority here in the House of Representatives is that the Republicans who are in the majority control the agenda. They control the schedule. They control what comes to the floor. And I sit on the Rules Committee, and we've had lots of, very, I think, constructive ideas to kind of reel in this administration's bullying tactics. And also even to talk about how we deal with his packing of the courts that just are blocked. So, I mean, one of the reasons why I want to win the majority come November is so that we can actually bring some of these ideas to the floor. We can debate them and we can vote on them. And I think that's what we're supposed to do as a Congress. I think that's what our founders envisioned when they put this system together. And unfortunately, the Rules Committee, which I sit on right now, is a place where democracy goes to die, and it's really sad. But we need to change that.
This is from an anonymous emailer saying, in an effort to support the Jewish community, Representative McGovern visited my kid's school. It would mean more if we knew he was coming. He does a lot of positive things for Western Mass, and I would have appreciated the opportunity to tell him so in person. Thank you for visiting, but if a tree falls in the forest, supportive but disappointed parent. So I know you visited the senior center in Northampton as well over the course of the past week. Any places we should know about that you'll be coming so that you don't have people aren't disappointed?
Yeah. No, and I will say I met with members of the Jewish community, and at their request, we did so in a private way, because we were talking about instances of anti-Semitism that have been propping up in our community, which is very disturbing to me and horrifying for members of the Jewish community. And so that meeting at the request of those who put it together, wanted it to be more private. But I'm happy to go to any school and talk about whatever with anybody. But it wasn't, I think this was a meeting that, quite frankly, was about a very serious and sensitive topic, and people are kind of reluctant to talk about some of these things in a public way. But anti-Semitism is a real problem, and there are members of the Jewish community in Western Massachusetts who have been victims, of some really egregious attacks because of their religion, which is just totally unacceptable. And it's interesting. Many of these people, are people who have been really critical of the Netanyahu government and what has happened, in Gaza and in the West Bank, and yet they have been subjected to this intimidation. And we have to be a community dedicated to no hate wherever it exists, no matter whoever it is. It is aimed at. And so, but I appreciate those members who wanted to have a conversation, and I appreciate their being candid and forthright. But it's a serious topic that we still haven't been able to figure out how to stop.
Well, I think that all you need to do is just let the parents know when you're going to be at the school. I mean, they want to meet. Yeah, well, that is a supportive but disappointed parent. Yeah, as I mentioned, you visited the senior center in Northampton. I know you had a town hall with folks at the Barry Senior Center as well. Any upcoming coffees with the congressman that people should know about if they do want to interact with you in person?
I haven't thought that far ahead. I'm going to be in Alabama this weekend, as I said, and then the following week in Massachusetts. But I'm not. We haven't scheduled any new town meetings, but we certainly will. And by the way, we had a great turnout in Barry. Barry's a small community, kind of in between Northampton and Worcester, and a lot of people showed up on a Saturday, and I was really impressed. And people have a lot on their mind. People are deeply concerned about the direction that this country is moving in, and a lot of people feel overwhelmed because they don't even know where to begin to push back. But they're concerned enough to show up, and I appreciate that.
U.S. Congressman Jim McGovern, what's giving you hope this week?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people here in Washington this week, and I met with a group of primary care physicians yesterday from all over the state, all over my district, and I appreciate all that they do. But we talked about how we need to fix our healthcare system. How our healthcare system is great if you need like quadruple bypass surgery, but we're not very good at preventing you from getting to that point. And about if we can win the majority, how we need to fix this healthcare system so we can focus more on prevention. We can encourage more people to go into primary care, and and how healthcare ought to be viewed as a fundamental right. And these are physicians in Massachusetts. They came all the way down here. They have busy schedules. They have lots of patients to deal with, but they wanted to come down because they feel very strongly that our healthcare system isn't working for everybody. And I think that's how you change things. And I admired their eloquence and their advocacy, but the fact that they took the trouble to come down here gives me hope that maybe we can change the system.
U.S. Congressman from the 2nd Congressional District of Massachusetts joins us every Thursday. If you've got a question for the congressman or a critique of his scheduling, you can send it our way, thefab413@nepm.org, and I'm happy to ask him. Thanks as always, Congressman.
All the best. Thanks.
And now to get uplifted by the healing power of art, literature, and kids just generally being kids with the founder of the R.I.S.E Festival, Jared J. Krasowska, real parent Greg Phipps, and live music from festival performer Louis Phipps.
You're listening to The Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM. Welcome back to The Fabulous 413. The second annual R.I.S.E Fest, Resilience and Self-Expression, honors youth, art, and literature this Saturday, May 16th at Northampton High School.
R.I.S.E Fest is co-founded by expressive arts educator Gina Krasowska and Jared J. Krasowska, the New York Times bestselling author behind Lunch Lady, as well as Hey Kiddo and the Sunshine graphic memoirs.
The festival highlights the scientifically proven mental health benefits of art in all mediums, fostering self-esteem and community connections for young creators.
This year's festival features an extraordinary lineup of creators dedicated to youth wellness and storytelling, including the globally renowned best-selling author and illustrator of Diary of a Wimpy Kid series, Jeff Kinney, who sold more than 300 million Wimpy Kid books worldwide. And also, it owns the bookstore where I had my book launch.
Zooey Mama! Yes. An unlikely story. It's the only good thing that exists in the place where I grew up in the outskirts of Boston, in Plainville, Massachusetts. Every time we go visit family, we go to an unlikely story, Jeff Kinney's bookstore. He's really revamped that part of Plainville, Mass. But we're joined by festival founder of R.I.S.E, Jared Krasowska, as well as one of the youth performers, Louis Walker Phipps, who has joined us previously on the show for your album release party at the Parliament, as well as his dad, Gabe Phipps, who's here and may or may not talk. He may be a fly on the wall. We've got a lot of pollinators on the show this week. He may be a fly on the wall. JJK, Hota Hota Ka, Jared J. Krasowska. We, for many years, did a wonderful event called Meltdown where we brought authors together and kids musicians together and got the community together to celebrate children's books and music. This takes it to the next level where it incorporates kids into resilience and self-expression. Can you talk about the genesis of this event now in its second incarnation at Northampton High this Saturday?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there is an evolution from Meltdown to what this became for a few big reasons. One is Gina received her Certificate of Advanced Graduate Studies in Expressive Arts on top of her master's in psychology. And so she learned about all of the science that underlies how arts in all modalities improves your mental health. And so she wanted to create something that could celebrate that and center that. My career grew in that I branched off from making books for little kids to then slightly older kids to then young adults. So whereas when we started Meltdown, I just had Punk Farm and some picture books. Since then, I've had the Lunch Lady graphic novels and the young adult graphic memoir, Hey Kiddo, and Sunshine. So we wanted to create something that could encompass young people of all ages within the school systems in the Pioneer Valley. And we wanted to center mental health. So we thought, well, what if we continue to use our Rolodex, capitalize on these friendships that I have and call in a favor from Jeff Kinney to come and be the anchor that would get people in the door initially, but, share the spotlight with youth performers and musicians like Louis and dancers like the Momentum team from Art in Motion. And it's a variety show of arts in all modalities. So there'll be an author, and then there'll be some dancers, and then there'll be a punk band from elementary school called Rocking Puppies, and then there'll be a poet reading a haiku, and then there'll be some more dancers, and then there'll be Louis, an 8th grade blues singer, and then it's just it's really the best way I could describe it is imagine the Muppet Show, but with children's book authors and youth performers. It's a little bit of everything.
That's awesome.
I love imagining the Muppet Show. It's 50% of my brain space is always imagining the Muppet Show. So R.I.S.E Fest this Saturday is just going to be perfect.
I didn't notice your list of authors, and I really should have, because Jeff Kinney is great, but I am far too old for that. However, Cara Bean, I have admired for years.
She's the best.
She's fantastic. In fact, I think, if I'm not mistaken, she has a small booklet that she put out at one of the MICE festivals about her experience with the first Gremlins movie that I still own and adore. Her work is fantastic. And of course, my co-author, Holly Black, who really did write most of that book.
The book that Khalees released with Holly Black a couple of years ago, Sir Morian, you can get it in bookstores now.
It's still very good. I still have it down to a very 8-minute read. Talk about the author specifically and what changes between younger readers and middle grade readers that's important to put on the page.
Yeah, sure. So Cara Bean she caught my attention because she has an amazing graphic novel that's about mental health for young people, helping you how the brain works through the medium of comics. And so, it's an event that's taking place in one window of time, Saturday, May 16th from 11 to 4. But there's going to be tracks for teenagers, tracks for middle schoolers, tracks for elementary schools. So, in terms of when we're thinking about who we're inviting in for authors, Jeff Kinney is an obvious person you'd want to invite.
And you may think you're too old for him, but those books are funny no matter how old you are.
Those books are funny no matter. But wanting to round it out, wanting to make sure that we're sharing the spotlight with new talent. For instance, Fiona Cook is a Northampton High School graduate, and she has her second ever published book. She became a New York Times bestseller. She will be there, as well as Amber Aiken is a graphic novelist. Her first book was just published. She's a Pioneer Valley resident, has worked at the Carl Museum and the bookshop for a number of years. So, and also, wanting to create not just the diversity in the types of literature and not just diversity in terms of new and very well known, but the types of artwork. So there's going to be graphic novelists there will be poets there, all different types of literature. So it's not just comics. I mean, it would be great if it was, but also it's important to introduce young people to all different kinds of literature as well.
It's the R.I.S.E Fest, the return, the second year, Resilience and Self-Expression Fest, happening Saturday, May 16th at Northampton High School. We're talking with one of the co-founders, Jarrett J. Krasoska, the New York Times best-selling author, who has created your own testimony to the importance of resilience and self-expression through the books Hey Kiddo, and to a certain extent, your other graphic memoir as well. But Louis Phipps, you have been on the show before. You've been playing music since how old?
5?
Yeah, like 3, 5.
And how old are you now?
14, yeah.
So this is exciting that you're still involved in the fray, and we've been able to watch your career kind of since very young. It's not an easy time to be a human being. I'm assuming it's not an easy time to be a teenager. So how does music help you in your self-expression when you're writing new songs and playing new songs?
Yeah, I feel like self-expression is not something I think about a lot when I write my songs. Honestly, I like to think about other things, like, 12 Angry Men, the movie that I just wrote a song about.
That's expression, though. You get inspired by another piece of art and you come up with more art yourself.
But I think writing music helps me like decompress and just express other things that are happening in my life. And I'm going to be happy to play some of those songs at R.I.S.E. too.
Mm-hmm. A fun fact, do you know how Louis and I met?
Oh, yeah, I remember now.
He's in the Lunch Lady audiobook.
But
Yeah.
Louis, you were in the stage production of
Sunshine as well.
of
He was
Sunshine.
also in the live read as well.
Okay.
But
were you in the stage read of Hey Kiddo too?
he wasn't. No.
Okay, I'm
but,
trying to put it all together.
We first got introduced because during the pandemic, Louis took improv classes with Heidi Haas over Zoom.
Yeah.
And I contacted Heidi. I said, I need some young actors for this audiobook I'm working on. And very against type, Louis played the character of Milmo.
Milmo's the bully in the Lunch
Bully.
Ladies.
And Louis is far from that, yes.
Fun character to the play, though, I bet.
Yeah, it was.
Louis, what is it like for you when you're on stage? How does that make you feel?
A mix of emotions, like nervous, but also happy. And once I like get in the mindset and the zone, then it's really nice.
Has that changed at all since you kind of changed the instrument from uke to guitar?
No, I don't think so. I think my sound is like, I guess in my mind, it's still relatively the same, but it's definitely changed.
Like when you go back and listen to those old songs, you don't feel embarrassed by them?
No, I do, but that's more because my voice. It's so shrill.
I literally can't
mine
listen to
now.
anything or even to an old show that we did here like a day later without being totally embarrassed by it, so I can't imagine.
Yep.
I'll say for what it's worth, I feel the same way about my visual art, and my visual art didn't go through a change in which it sounds different. But when young artists talk to me, like, what does it feel like to look at your old work? I'm like, it's kind of painful in a way. Like I don't want to look at my old stuff. I think for me, it's when you're in the middle of it and you're creating it and you can get sort of lost in it is when it really helps you escape. Like you mentioned, like it helps you process things.
Yeah.
Gabe, who's Louis' dad, have you seen transitions as a parent in Louis monitoring sort of his mental health and well-being? I'm a parent. It's not fun, but it's important, I think, to keep an eye on your kids and where they're at with different things. And I know that when my kids are in the midst of a creative process, it engages their minds and brings them a sense of happiness that might not be there if they're between projects, let's say. So have you as a parent noticed anything like that?
For sure, yeah. There have been periods where Louis is less interested in making music, and then other times when he's really in it, like the present. And I mean, Louis, you might feel differently about this, but it always seems to me like when you're in the groove, when you're writing and the songs are coming, you seem happy. That's certainly true now, and that was true years ago when he first started this whole project.
Yeah.
Do you notice that yourself?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like after I released my last record, I took a pretty long break from just writing songs. But in the last few months, I've come back to it kind of tenfold and just really found my groove and wrote a lot of songs. And when I come home from school, a lot of the times I'll just immediately pick up my guitar, and it makes me really happy. Yeah.
That's great. Jarrett J. Krasoska, your wife is now expert in the mental health and the arts, and is also the development director for Cutchin's Institute, which does a lot of mental health work as well. But what are some of the things you've learned from her about the importance of arts in mental health, especially of kids?
I would say top line, watching her go through her education with her certificate of advanced graduate studies in expressive arts. She was very nervous when she had to engage in the arts because she is not a self-identified artist. Uh-huh. But she marveled at how much her mood improved when she was just putting marks on a page. She learned how much her mood improved when she engaged in performing music, and she's just not a self-identified musician. And for me, I've always known that the arts have improved my mental health. So it was really interesting to understand that there are chemicals that are released into your brain when you are engaging with the arts. And especially now, more than ever, it offers you an escape that's not on a screen where you're going to be bombarded with terrible everything.
Yeah.
You know?
Is her work with mental health part of the reason why the R.I.S.E Festival moved from being 2 days to being one?
Yeah, well,
You're going to know how much to bite off.
Last year we did 2 days, 2 separate events, because we separated the teen event and the kid event. We realized we really didn't need to do that. They could be one and the same. And a big reason too is thinking of the fact that, well, it would be really great for a 6 or 7-year-old to see a 14, 15-year-old performing on stage, and for a young person to identify, well, I know that's not an adult. Like that, I know that person is older than I am, but I know they're not an adult, and they can get up on stage and perform with a guitar. And maybe I can as well. And aside from the main stage, we have workshops throughout the day. We're going to have a workshop from the Department of Mental Health that's specifically just for caretakers, on caretakers giving them the resources they need to tend to their mental health on a daily basis in the chaos of parenting. And of course, your co-writer, Holly Black, will be there to give a writing workshop as well.
Louis, besides playing, what are you most looking forward to at the festival?
I know a couple people there in the high school, and I think some of my friends will be coming, and honestly, I think it will just be a lot of fun. All the music, I guess Jeff Kinney too. People at my school are talking about that as well.
That's fantastic.
They all
I love
have
that.
the cheese touch.
I love that.
When the teens are talking about you, you know that you've made it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing something good. I mean, I want to give a shout out to Cutchin's Programs for Children and Families, who are coming on as a sponsor alongside the Northampton Arts Council for this. And while, the main stage events, they begin at 11, if you'd like to join us at 10 a.m., we are having an official ceremony with local dignitaries like Representative Sabadosa and the district attorney to celebrate it, because it's Children's Mental Health Awareness Month. So we're having a proclamation, a little ceremony, if you'd like to attend that as well at 10.
All at Northampton High School?
All at Northampton High School.
It's an incredible event. It's the second annual R.I.S.E Fest, Resilience in Self-Expression. It's this Saturday, May 16th at Northampton High School. And we have been joined by one of the founders of the R.I.S.E Fest, my good buddy, Jarrett J. Krasoska, New York Times bestselling author and illustrator behind so many wonderful books, including Punk Farm. Let's not disparage that book. One of my favorite picture books of all time.
Disparaging Punk Farm.
Punk Farm can now legally drink because it's 21 years old.
Oh my God! Don't make me feel so old. So can my oldest child, by the way, who I read Punk Farm to on a nightly basis. This event is going to be incredible. It will feature the music of Louis Walker Phipps, who's joined us, as well as his dad has joined us to weigh in on the importance of mental health and the arts. And the lineup is absolutely stellar. It's got Holly Black and Carabine, Katrina Goldsatio from The Sound of Silence, Amber Aiken from The Penny and the Yeti, as well as Jeff Kinney from Diary of a Wimpy Kid, who'll be part of this. All this Saturday, it's the Resilience and Self-Expression Festival, the R.I.S.E Fest. Thanks so much for coming in, everybody.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
you can find out all the details at risefest.homestead.
I'll give you an easier one.
Okay.
risefest413.org.
Hey.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I love it.
Yeah,
They
baby.
didn't say it. Yeah, baby.
And as an extra, here's a song from one of Saturday's performers at the R.I.S.E Festival. This is his 12 Angry Men song from Louis Walker Phipps. And you want to sing?
Should I start singing too?
Yep.
All right. Sit here in my borrowed nice clothes, 'cause I don't have cents to spend. Gotta try to act young, gotta try to look naive and innocent. Look up at the jurors' harsh faces in the button suits and ties. Think that they are so much better 'cause they can afford to look so nice. Think that they are so much better 'cause they can afford to look so nice. Oh, 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 oh. Cut that evidence crap because I know, yeah, they've seen this boy from a slum. He's slim, he's slumped, he lives so rough. Oh, he had no choice, 'cause where he lives, that's just what goes on. The kill and the stab and they hurt and they burn just for fun. Father was a, my brother was a, my mother was a, yeah, my household was a, my bedroom was a, my whole head is a mess, is a paradise, is a hell of all nonsense. Yeah, my father was a, my brother was a, my mother was a, clock's still ticking and I've got somewhere to run. Bet that's just what they're thinking while the case continues on. Yeah, well, my clock's done ticking, my timer's up and gone. Yeah, well, my life's all over, wanna run and run and run away. Wanna run away.
That's Louis Walker Phipps, 14 years old, playing at the R.I.S.E Festival in Northampton at Northampton High on Saturday.
14 years old with like 3 albums under his belt, something like that.
Not too shabby.
On the next Fabulous 413, we head to Franklin County to bear witness to locations of importance and erasure that'll be highlighted at Nolambika Project's Day of Remembrance event on May 16th.
Plus Live Music Friday with Case Oates, who plays the Iron Horse tomorrow night. I'm Monty Belmonte.
I'm Khalees Smith. We'll talk to you tomorrow on the Fabulous 413.